Now, if you've already watched the financial series, that you know that I think skills equals money. I think money is not real. I think each time you hear the word money, you need to immediately translate that to skills, resources, value, talent, whatever it is other than money. So the first thing that we need to get back to is the fact that money is not real. Money is skills. Now, when I'm talking about skills, what I mean is, let's take an athlete, for example, someone like LeBron James. There's nothing that anybody can do to take away the skills that he has for basketball. There's not a single person that says, you know what, LeBron, you've been acting crazy. I'm going to take back your skills. Your skills are something that nobody can take you. And what is it that Martin Luther King said? An educated mind can never be enslaved. Once you have an understanding, once you have a skill set, there's nothing that anyone can do that can take that away from you. So you need to work on yourself constantly in order to become the type of person it is that you want to be. So forecast out 5 years from now. Who do you want to be? How much money do you want to have? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to have a family? If so, what type of family? The more specific you can be, the better. And then it's up to you. It's your responsibility to grow into that person. What type of characters does that person need to have? What type of skills, resources, network, financial knowledge, financial education? What things are required of that future person that you want to be? So there are four things that I want to talk about in this episode. And the first thing is time. So here's the cold, hard truth. Some facts. We all have the same 24 hours. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how poor you are. It doesn't matter what race you are, what gender. We all have the exact same 24 hours. It's a matter of how you spend that time that separates you from everyone else. So considering the fact that we have the same 24 hours, how much of that do you waste? Now, statistically, at least here in America, I know that the majority of us have at some point struggled with weight or have gone on a diet. And one of the most common pieces of dietary information that you'd likely hear if you've ever tried any of these is the first thing that you need to do is keep track of all of the things that you eat in one day. Similarly, if you are not where you want to be, if you're not as successful, if you are not the type of person, if you don't have enough money, if you have any sort of lack in your life, one of the first things that you need to do is take a hard inventory of your time. What are you spending it doing? Now, to this end, my wife and I, we do not have a television. I deleted the news app off my phone. There are so many distractions. There's so much things that people naturally do that's socially acceptable to waste an immense amount of time. You need to disconnect from as many of those as possible. For the longest time, my wife and I did not have social media. I recently have gotten back on it, but specifically for business purposes, things that are have a net positive on my life. They're not a giant time suck. As I've mentioned in all of these other videos, Jim Rohn, I consider him to be a solid mentor of mine. Now, he's been dead for quite some time, but nonetheless, all of his words still ring true. And he has this one speech where he's talking about the fact that, he went over to some executive's house and he saw this nice, beautiful television there. And Jim Rohn said, "Hey, how much does that TV cost you? I bet you spend about $40,000 a year on that TV." And the guy was like, "What are you talking about? There's no way. I bought that TV for $800 or some arbitrary number." And Jim Rohn was like, "No, no, no. Like, how much time do you spend watching that television?" And, the answer was 3 or 4 hours a night even. And to Jim Rohn's point, ultimately what he was saying is he could use those 3 or 4 hours that sucked from the television to improve himself, to become a better person, to become a better leader for his company, to become a better father to his children, to become a better husband to his wife. That television was just absolutely sucking the resources out of them. So nobody can help you but you. Everybody, again, has the same 24 hours. Jeff Bezos has the same 24 hours as the small business owner down the street from you, right? What do they do differently with their time? Bill Gates has the same 24 hours as all of the other software developers or computer programmers. Warren Buffett has the exact same 24 hours as all of the other financial advisors or stock investors or anything in the financial industry. So what are they doing differently that most people are not? What are the common time sucks that they aren't being taken advantage of by? You need to figure those out and you need to limit them. How much of your time are you actually spending towards achieving the things that you say you want to achieve? Just like if you were to document all the things that you eat in one day, I bet if you figured out all of the ways that you wasted time, you'd be ashamed of yourself. Now, the second thing is priorities. Now, a lot of people speaking on time will say things like, I don't have enough time for that. And that is largely untrue. What you should say, because again, we all have the same amount of time, right? But we all have different priorities. So what you need to say instead of, I don't have time for that, is you need to say, that is not a priority of mine at this time. Because guess what? What high priorities are, anything that's a high priority, you find the time to do it. So here are some personal examples. From the age of like 13 to 18, all I wanted to do was become a professional racquetball player. I wanted to be the number one player in the world. Now, I didn't do that, but I can tell you that throughout middle and high school, I put racquetball at the top of the list. I wouldn't hang out with friends. I wouldn't go to social gatherings until I put in the appropriate amount of practice in racquetball. After that, I gave myself free rein to do whatever it is that I wanted to, but I had to put in that time, that energy, that effort first because that was my number one priority. Similarly, I set an American bench press record, and the way that I did that was lifting weights was my number one priority. Now, even in college, there were some days where I had large papers due, and I had to decide, am I going to go to the gym right now, or am I going to finish this paper? And when I was put in that predicament, I chose going to the gym. I accepted a lower grade because of the predicament that I put myself in, and I reflected on my priorities, and I had to neglect those things. Now, yes, I was paying money. Yes, other mismanagement happened at that time, but nonetheless, when push came to shove, I had to pick between priorities, and if I truly wanted to be a great weightlifter, then I needed to prioritize that above all else. Now that I'm a business owner, I've got a large list of goals, business related, that I want, but I'm also a husband and a father. So my priorities that I've set for myself are first being a phenomenal husband and second being a phenomenal father. And unfortunately, sometimes I feel like my businesses are just ready to grow and expand, but I have a hard stop at 4:30 to 7:30 every day until my kids go to sleep. I'm not doing any work past 4:30. I am with them. Whatever I have going on business related, whatever a client needs from me, sorry guys, I'm off limits until my kids go to sleep. Now, this is a commitment that I have to them because I'm never going to prioritize business or money or success over my family. Similarly, my wife knows that at any given time, if she ever needs me, if she ever wants me, she can text me, she can call me. I will drop whatever I am doing at any given time for her. She has complete control to do that for me because she is my top priority, right? I'm not going to let anything else come between that. So you have to determine your priorities and get rid of all excuses. There is nothing that is a reasonable excuse to not achieve exactly what it is that you want, especially if that excuse starts with, I'm sorry, I do not have time. Whatever skills you're after, whatever goal you want, whatever relationships you have to prioritize that in time. We all have the same 24 hours. It's the priorities that are different. And it is your first few priorities that are going to help you and lead you to becoming successful. Now, once you have an understanding of what your priorities are, now you have to have some studied and researched focus. Now, what I mean by this is just because you know that you want to make a lot of money doesn't mean that you could just go out and figure out and just trial and error your way to making a lot of money. You could do that, but it's going to take an immense amount of time for you. And fortunately for us, we live in the information age. We have so much information just readily available at our fingertips via the internet. So whenever I set out goals to make my first company was a candle company. My wife and I started it in our kitchen. Now, I researched endlessly how to make candles, exactly what to do. What were the best wicks? What were the best waxes? How to do the best pours? All of these things I had intense studied focus on. Well, now I created the business and I couldn't figure out how to sell it. So I realized that I had a marketing error, right? I didn't know how to appropriately market these products past my friends and family. So what I did, and what I think a general rule of thumb is whatever you are interested in, whatever you want to focus on, you need to read at least 10 books on the subject. That is going to give you a giant leg head up in that area. After you read 10 books on one subject, things are going to start making a lot of sense. You're going to start seeing the patterns in the books, and those patterns are the things that you want to follow. What are the 10 experts that actually wrote books on the topic? What are they saying that you should focus on? What are the common things that are extraordinarily repetitive? And those are the lifelines to success in that particular area that you're working on. Before I started this YouTube channel, there weren't necessarily books about how to go about doing it, but I can tell you, fortunately, with that little wheel and the 2x playback speed, I probably watched about 200 hours worth of content about how to make good YouTube videos, how to structure them properly, because I want my message to reach the most amount of people possible. There are millions of YouTube channels out there. Some of them just have a few subscribers and some of them have 100 million subscribers. What's the difference? And how can I set myself apart from the people that don't have any subscribers? Because I'm looking to get the most amount of reach possible, because I think my message is most certainly needed. Again, I'm focusing in on this skill. I'm not making time an excuse. I'm using it to my advantage. I'm leveraging a certain amount of hours per day. I'm prioritizing it above other things at the moment because I want to have the results that reach the most amount of people. This is something that I want to be great at, because I think the world needs to hear these things, because you are in control, and there are so many people trying to distract you and tell you that you have no control over so many things in your life, which you most certainly do. So for all of the negative media out there, I want to be at least one tiny little voice of goodness in the world. So if this message resonates, if this playlist resonates with you and has given you some tools to make a drastic improvement in your life, please share it with other people that could also afford to hear this message. Now, we all have that one friend or that one family member or someone that we know in our community that tries a new thing almost weekly. They get really gung-ho and they go after one thing, and then they meet their first obstacle and it just knocks them out of the picture, and then all of a sudden they're on to this next thing, right? You do not want to be that person. Now, it's okay to experiment around if you're not sure about what you want to do in life, but you have to be disciplined and you have to be consistent. Now, you can do these first three things as well as you want to, but if you do not have discipline or consistency, then you are wasting so much valuable energy that you have. You have to be consistent. I can't work out for 4 hours one day and then never work out again and expect to see any sort of reasonable results. I can't eat healthy for one afternoon and then expect to lose 15, 20 pounds. The only way to lose that weight is by consistently being disciplined with your study focus, with your priorities, and with your time. There's no alternative to greatness. And once you hone in these things, once you start seeing results, once you start increasing your skills by leveraging these 4 things that literally everybody has, nobody can take away the results from you. Nobody. Let's use musicians as an example. You practice for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours on becoming a phenomenal musician. Nobody can take away your knowledge of how to play the instrument. Becoming successful is no different. Once you hone in on a skill that is rewarded via capitalism, via the free enterprise, once you hone in on a skill that adds value to a lot of different people, people are going to pay you for that. People are going to start rewarding you for that. And that's something that nobody can take away from you. But that's something that you have to earn by leveraging these 4 things. Another Jim Rohn quote is he always says, don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. And so find something, pick some goals, pick something to prioritize, pick something to spend your time on. Stop wasting your time. Stop letting the news, the media, your friends, your immediate network, stop letting everybody else dictate what it is that you focus on. Pick something to be great at and go for it. Society rewards greatness. You might be born with a little bit of talent, but these things, discipline, consistency, studied focus, prioritization, and your time management beats talent every single day of the week. Now, Paul Washer is one of my favorite pastors, and he told this story in one of his sermons where there was a man that was extraordinary at playing the cello. And in one of his performance, a young boy came up to him afterwards and said, Sir, I would give my life to play the cello like you are. And the musician responded to him, Son, I did give my life to play the cello like this. His time, his priorities, his studied focus, he was disciplined and consistent. He sacrificed so many things because he prioritized the cello. Success is no different. If you want to be successful, you have everything that you need in order to achieve it. So pick something and be great. The world needs you.